Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another episode. We are here with Chris Kokalis, the brand new Shuttle LT, affectionately known as the BLT. We're gonna be riding Sky Park and learning all about this new bike, so let's go hit the trails. All right, Chris, so the Shuttle LT, what are you calling this? Gen 3 or just Shuttle LT Bosch? What is the name for it officially?
Yeah, we internally we call it the BLT.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just the next generation of Shuttle LT.
Okay. All right. So obviously a bike that our crew have really enjoyed and loved over the years, winning a couple awards and some shootouts. What sort of like high level wanted to remain the same, and what were goals to change and update on the new bike?
Well, we really wanted to refine the bike a little bit. The outgoing LT with the Shimano motor is an awesome bike. Like you said, it's won a couple of shootouts on Loam, and so we didn't want to basically mess up what's good about it. And so travel's the same. It's still 160 millimeters in the rear, 170 millimeters in the front. Geometry is very, very close, but the biggest things are slight refinements to the kinematics, Bosch motor,
Okay.
Bosch race motor actually,
Okay.
and not just on the highest level build, but on every level build. So we have 3 levels of builds, Ride, Pro, and Team, and doesn't matter which one you buy, you're going to get the race motor and a 750 watt-hour battery.
Okay, very cool. I guess let's first up talk about refinements to the kinematics. I see my model here has a little different shock than yours, also different than all the LT shocks previously, right?
Yeah,
Can you talk about kinematic and spec?
So it was interesting, previously on the team level build, we got a lot of feedback, a lot of riders buying this level of bike that were asking why didn't it come with the Float X2. And during that time, the Float X2 we didn't feel was the best shock for it, and actually in 2024, now 2025 model year, Fox made a lot of changes to the Float X2, and it just works a lot better, and it's infinitely more durable than it was in the past. So
Okay.
it's a good fit for the bike now on the highest level build. So the ride level build comes with the Float X
Okay.
Performance Series. Pro comes with the Float X Factory Series. And then the team level build, which you've got, is going to come with the Float X2. And then both the Pro and team level builds, you can upgrade to the new Fox Neo DHX live valve shock.
All right. Okay. Very cool. And then as far as the actual feel of the rear suspension, obviously the different shocks are going to provide different feels. I'm really excited to find out what that's going to do a little later, but any tuning or modification? I know you kind of made the shock a little more vertical, but
Yeah,
any change in kinematic?
the previous bike, the skid plate swung down, the battery removed past the motor, and the motor was really tilted up, and that wound up causing us to kick the shock out. With this not having a removable battery, the motor flatter, we could bring that shock in and just optimize the rates a little bit better. So it is, if you ride the old one and you ride the new one, you're going to be like, yeah, this is better. It just sticks better. It corners better. We've also gone to 27.5 rear wheels on the bike. So they're mulleted now, or mixed wheel. It's just a lot of subtle changes that add up to a pretty big difference in the overall feel and ride of the bike.
Okay. And can a rider opt to put a 29 in the back?
Yes, absolutely. So it's in the high flip chip setting now.
Okay.
In the low flip chip setting, they can go back to a 29-inch wheel.
2.5, 2.6 rear tire clearance?
2.5, yeah, it'll
Okay.
fit in an Assegai 2.5 in there.
Okay.
Is what it's designed for.
Very cool. Geometry changes.
Geometry is pretty much identical to what we've had before.
Okay. Any chance of frame sets?
On an e-bike, no.
I got to keep asking. We're not the only ones. It seems like a lot of other people want frame sets, so I got to ask everybody.
Yeah, we've got 3 awesome builds, and if somebody wants to change some parts out, they should start with the build that gets them closest to where they want to be.
Okay. All right. So overall, sounds like You wanted to keep what was working well.
Yep.
And just refine a little bit, and obviously get the Bosch in there, huh?
Yeah, and I'm excited for you to ride it because that's where you really notice the differences.
Okay.
We can talk specs and little detail changes all day long, but until you ride it and go, wow, this is an improved bike. It's nice, and I know sometimes it's hard to improve on your shootout winners, but I know you did the shootout between the AM and the LT, and you preferred the LT,
Yeah,
but
yeah, Chris, yeah, he liked the AM a little
and
bit.
he liked the AM, and he liked it because of the Bosch power.
Right.
And now having the Bosch motor, the race motor on here, that just brings it all together. And the CG of the bike just feels a little bit lower. You just feel in the bike more. It just handles even more like a regular bicycle, more like a Firebird.
Okay.
And all the things we've done in the past with the ride tuning, not having the battery removable, that's a big deal in the feel of this bike compared to a lot of other e-bikes, in the way the front triangle moves and flexes is identical to the Firebird. The stiffness numbers are identical. So
Okay.
you really get that analog bike feel when you're throwing around and jumping it. And other than loading it up into your van and feeling the weight,
Yeah.
everywhere else, it doesn't feel like you're on an e-bike, of course,
Okay.
unless you're on a climb.
So relative, I guess, overall frame stiffness, then this will be increased a little bit in frame stiffness.
Not increased, actually. It's, well, increased in the bottom bracket area, actually slightly less in the head tube area.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so overall it should ride relatively similar to the last gen.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And weight, you said, is about the same as well.
Yeah, just under 50 pounds, 49 pounds, depending on the
Okay,
size.
with the 750 and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, enough talk. Let's go hit the trails and see
Absolutely.
how it does. Yeah, that is where the Bosch drive unit comes in and it really beats the Shimano, is that acceleration going from the steep stuff to the flatter grade. It just, you can soft pedal and it just spins up so much quicker. So yeah, aside from the power difference, little stiffer rear end with this particular shock. Granted, I have not fully got it set up to my happy spot, nor do I think it's probably fully broken in, but definitely feels like home if you're coming off a current generation LT. So yeah, that's nice to know. Pretty solid. Now onto the downhills. All right, here we go. First lap on a brand new bike. See how it goes. All right, folks, it has been a fun day here at Sky Park Bike Park just outside of Lake Arrowhead, California, and we'd like to thank them for letting us come out and film and have some fun. We've been able to put the bike on a pretty wide variety of trails, from high speed, some kind of chunky, choppy stuff, and some cool, fun berm and jump trails. So got a pretty good mix of terrain and put in about 20 miles and a full day of riding and filming. So, you know, it's definitely not enough for a long-term review. This isn't a review, but it's definitely more than enough for us to get a confident feel and first impression on how the bike's performing. You might notice you catchy eye guys and girls out there, do you notice what's different about the bike yet? Answer. We switched to a coil shock at lunch. So give yourself a thumbs up if you noticed that before I brought it up. But it was really cool to switch to this live valve DHX coil shock. I've been liking it better so far. You know, the other shock definitely is something that requires more time tuning. With more time and tuning, I could get that shock feeling even better. But the beauty of this bike is you can, depending on the spec, you can get it with the Float X, the DHX2 Air, or the DHX coil. The biggest difference, you know, is going to be Shimano to Bosch. The switch up there, it's definitely noticeable. There are some advantages, and I guess I don't want to call them disadvantages, but it's just different feel out of the Bosch. And with the race unit, you've got, you know, that race mode, which is pretty awesome in certain applications. So yeah, I mean, the Bosch versus Shimano thing, I think is a very personal one, and I think most people out there are going to be very stoked that it's gone to Bosch. Moving into the rest of the frame, bike handling performance, Geo really is untouched for the most part, and means that the bike rides very similarly for the most part. The change in the rear suspension here did make the bike feel a little bit more, I guess, racy, a little more sporty, you could call it. It just had a little bit more of a planted, stable feel. The other, or preceding bike, was very lively. It was like a hyperactive rear end, and like the shock was just so fluttery and lively, and that was what we loved about it so much. And this bike just feels a little bit more, dare I say, muted, not in a bad way, but like it just feels like it kind of like thuds into and over stuff in a little bit more calm and planted way. And it's really weird because it's like not a drawback or a negative. Like some bikes that kind of feel dead and thuddy can be a little bit harsher, a little more feedback to the feet and hands, and this doesn't do that. So it's kind of like weird, and I'm still trying to figure it out, and that's why we're only 20 miles in. And I do think the shock has something to do with that too, right? I think this new bike with the Float X is probably going to be just as lively and fun feeling as the other one, and this bike still is all those things, but it just feels like it gives you that extra little edge when you really want to like put down a race run and you're trying to push hard into corners or off of stuff. And so I kind of liked it, and I like it a little bit more. I'm surprised, well, maybe I'm not that surprised to say, but initially I think I like the coil shock on this bike, and I like it more. It just let me feel like the bike could handle more, like it could be pushed harder and sent deeper and attacked more. Like it just gave me more downhill confidence. And that's kind of my big takeaway. I'm actually also very impressed with the Continental Cryptotol tires. I've not spent a ton of time on them, and the time I have spent on them has definitely not been in very dry, loose conditions and like loose marbly rocks and stuff. And like, wow, I'm very impressed with the grip and traction. On some of the like kind of sandy, hard pack loose stuff, it was a little floaty out back, but like, I'm also aired up a little bit higher than usual for the berms and the jumps, but like plowing through the rocks, I was really impressed with like the sidewall stiffness out of an enduro tire. Like I felt like I could have dropped PSI, and even without dropping the PSI, the grip and the way they grab on rock, it was really impressive. So they seem like they're pretty fast rolling, good side knobs, like really good tire choice. I was pretty stoked to see those. And yeah, other than that, like, first ride, 20 miles in, it's the Shuttle LT, but a little bit better. And that should be really all you need to know. The bike's already won awards before, and if it got better, that means it's even better. So we are going to be doing a lot more miles, passing it around to some of the guys, so stay tuned for a long-term review, and we'll just continue to put it through different paces. We'll probably do a shock swap again, so we'll have more and better detailed information on the shock tuning and swaps and where we land on what shock is the best for us on this bike. If you have any questions, any things you'd like us to consider, talk about for our long-term review, or any things you want us to try to answer in the comments, please let us know down below. Of course, as always, we'd be very thankful if you guys would subscribe to the channel and help us grow so we can make more awesome videos like this. Thanks very much, and we'll catch you out on the trails.